gaunts are little more than living weapons. Their bodies and biocannons are slaves to the will of a parasite that controls the volley of chitinous barbs that hail from the skies. And in this video, we'll be painting a Tyrannid barb gaunt in the colours of Hive Fleet Leviathan to battle ready. And we'll be adding a few extra techniques to take your model to the next level. And by following this guide, you can use this to paint the rest of the unit too. If you're new to painting, you can check out the Citadel Colour Painting Essentials videos to learn more about paints and techniques. The paints we'll be using are on the screen right now. Remember that we're painting to match the box art, but you can paint your models however you like. Any additional equipment we've used is also on the screen, but feel free to use whatever brushes you're most comfortable with, and if you don't have any mediums, you can swap these out with water instead. The first thing we need to do is undercoat the model, and for this colour scheme we've used Wraithbone. It's a nice warm undercoat that will get us ready for the contrast colours we'll be using. We'll start by applying a base coat of Wraithbone over our model. This gives us a slightly different finish that will match the pot in case we need to tidy up any sections, as the spray has a slightly different finish. You'll only need one thin coat to fully cover over, so don't worry about being neat at this stage. Just make sure you get into all of those membranes and the underside of the model. Now I'll add a thin down layer of Magos Purple. We'll combine 2 parts Contrast Medium to 1 part Magos Purple. This gives us a great colour that will settle into those recesses, but not overwhelm the upper areas of the skin. We'll be applying this all over to get into every recess and around those carapace edges, so don't worry about being neat at this stage. Just make sure that the contrast doesn't pull too heavily, as we want a nice light pinky purple tone to the skin. After it's dry, you can reapply Wraithbone to any areas that are too dark from the contrast. As a quick extra easy detail, you can add a cheeky dry brush of Corax White over the model. We are doing this now so we can be messy before we paint any of the other details. By using circular motions, we can get all of those race points covered without being too heavy-handed. This is a subtle effect, so if you want some more definition, you can apply a second dry brush. Just don't apply too much pressure, or we can end up with a lumpy, unwanted texture. Next, we'll use Nagaroth Knight for the carapace armour. Remember to thin this paint down slightly as it is a base paint. Apply multiple thin layers to build up to a nice solid colour. Just take your time, as if we make mistakes now, it just takes more time to tidy up. So use a smaller brush if you think you might smudge paint onto the skin. With the carapace painted, we can move on to Corn Red for the body of the biocannon. With a few thin coats, this will give us a solid colour over any other paints we've used, so do be careful near that skin and carapace. With the biocannon painted, we can move on to Abaddon Black for the claws, hooves and weapon carapace. Just like with Nagaroth Knight, we want to thin down our paint and apply it in the same way. You can also paint the insides of any open mouths to help define the area for some paints later on. Next we'll paint the teeth with Corax White and a small layer brush. Picking out the teeth will help them stand out from that black base coat, finishing off the face with a lot of detail with very little work. Just make sure you avoid painting that tongue. If you do, you can go back over with Nagaroth Knight. And now we'll paint the biocannon's eyes with Fire Dragon Bright. By using a small layer brush, we can get into those smaller areas and avoid getting this colour on the flesh we just painted. And with a few thin coats, we can build up to a nice vibrant orange. Your Tyrannid barb gaunt is now battle ready. You can stop here or you can add these cool extras to take your model to the next level. Now we'll add a bit of definition to that carapace armour with an easy highlight of Slanesh Grey. We can do this by thinning down the paint and applying it in small, choppy lines around the edge of the carapace plates. You can see that it gives more of a natural highlight than normal, giving this chipped chitin effect. Just make sure you use a small layer brush and keep that paintbrush pointed. After the first highlight is dry, we'll add a simple highlight to the black details with Thunderhawk Blue. We don't need to highlight every edge or detail, so we'll pick out the most prominent or visible. Just keep that brush pointed and the paint thin so it flows off the brush. Next we'll add a Tuskor fur highlight to the fleshy red part of the biocannon. Just like before, keep those lines as neat as you can, and you can also use the side of your brush on any flat edges. And there we are! Your Tyranid Barb Gaunt is finished and ready to bombard their prey and pin them down with agonising shards. You can see that our model is based using Armageddon Dust, and if you'd like to learn more about technical paints, you can check out our video all about them. For more tutorials, tips and tricks, check out citadelcolor.com, or you can head to your local Warhammer store where our amazing staff will be happy to help. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye!